News, a production of the United Veterans Organization of Nassau County. My name is Ed Allman. I'd like to thank Altice USA for providing the studio and the training of our crew here at the studios in Hauppauge. The show is broadcast on public access television. You can also catch Veterans News on YouTube. Just go to Veterans News, UVO. I'd like to say hello to our viewers in both Nassau and Suffolk County. I would like to thank Sabrina Lacey, former commander of the Suffolk County VFW, for being our co-host. Hello, Sabrina.
Hi, Ed. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our crew. On camera 2, Dean Santiago. On camera 3, Donald Caulfield. Our audio director is Loretta DeBrino. Our video director is Beverly Allman. Our regular director and the big shot in the control room is Bob Lane. Our floor manager is an expert, an old expert from Cablevision. His name is Pat Galino. Pat's trained everybody that works here. By the way, if you'd like to ask me a question, make a comment, or if you'd like to become a member of our crew, contact me at veteransnewsuvo@gmail.com. We need members of our crew. If you would like to volunteer some time to help veterans, you too can volunteer for Veterans News. You'll find it quite rewarding. Just email me at veteransnewsuvo@gmail.com. Our guest today is Wilkins Young. That's the right way I pronounce the first name?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Wilkins Young, Director of the United Veterans Association of Suffolk County. Sabrina and I will ask our guests some questions, but I hope our camera crew and our crew from the back room will also have some questions. And camera crew, if you have any questions for our guest, I'd like to hear from them. We'd like to talk to our guest in a few minutes, but first let us remember the veterans who died recently. Renzi Lamb spent 3 years in the Marine Corps in Hawaii. Martin Taffe served in the Army during the Korean War. Jay Francis was an Army recruit who arrived at Pearl Harbor just a few days after the Japanese attacked. Santo Squall, I blew this one, Santo Squallacioti, Squillacioti, of West Islip, was a World War II veteran of the Battle of the Bulge. Sorry, I can't pronounce that, Santo. But John Smart of Malvern was drafted into the Army, served in the Philippines. Reginald Ballantyne of Garden City was a combat veteran of Rome and northern Italy. Ira Saltz of North Massapequa was a pilot of the B-17, and he flew many missions over Europe during World War II. Lawrence Weber of Levittown stormed the beaches of Normandy as a combat engineer. Salvatore Mascolo, a resident of Plainview, spent 2 years in Germany. Bruce Kuski of Levittown was a proud Vietnam veteran of the United States Navy. Edward Kennedy of Merrick served in the Navy during World War II. James Scala of Bayshore was a proud veteran who served in the U.S. Army. Joseph Reisert of East Rockaway was a Korean War veteran who was also a member of the East Rockaway VFW. And lastly, Bernard Susskind of Lido Beach was a Holocaust survivor and a proud World War II veteran. Okay, that's the list of our veterans. Now it's time for our guest. Hello, Wilkins.
Hi, Ed.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Wilkins, I know you're with the Suffolk County Veterans, the United Veterans Organization of Suffolk County. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I'd like to hear about your military background.
Sure. I entered the Army in 1976. And I served from 76 to 78, and I was in the 7th Division of Infantry Division, and I was stationed in Berlin, and I was stationed in Frankfurt, Germany. My MOS when I was over there was basically being a M13 personnel carrier driver.
An M13?
It's like it's a personnel carrier amphibious machine track tank that takes individuals to the point of deployment.
How
and
many
then we
people
set up
were in that?
a squad,
A
11
squad,
to 12
11 to
people.
12? Okay.
11 to 12 people. And we would take them to a place of deployment, and then we would set up the perimeter for lines of defense.
I had never heard of the Army doing that kind of maneuvers, of amphibious work. I thought that was just the Marine Corps.
Nah, we got our own thing.
You
too.
have your own thing.
We got our own thing.
How long
too.
were you in Germany?
I was in Germany for the 2 years of my tour.
Oh, great.
So
And what did
just-
you do when you came back?
When I came back, I started working at a pharmaceutical company, and I worked there for a while. And then after that, I started going through some changes because when I was in Germany, I suffered a traumatic experience that left me with some PTSD issues that I really wasn't aware of, and they went untreated for quite a few years.
Mr.
And-
Young, do you remember the day that you stepped back on American soil? And how were you received when you came through the airport, or did you come? You had to have come through the airport,
Sure I
right?
did.
How did you feel when you stepped down and you came through the airport? Was there anybody there with you? Did you come back with your squadron, or were you alone?
No, I was alone, but I was proud. I was proud to know that I had successfully completed something in my life, and I finally had did something that really had brought some meaning to my life.
Yeah.
And it actually developed me into becoming a mature man.
How old were you when you got out of the service?
Oh, I was 21 when I got out the service.
21.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that's when I went to the pharmaceutical place, and everything was going good. And as they would say, sometimes you got to clear up your past before you can move with your future. And my past caught up with me with my PTSD, and I started doing things to try to adjust to certain things, and it led to a life of other things, and
Yeah.
led to incarceration and
Oh,
substance abuse. And by the grace of God, I ran into this military thing that I so devoted my life to, that regenerated me, which was the only positive thing I had really met in my life at that time as far as my self-dedication to. And I went back to it, and it proved to be better than what I imagined it was.
Mr. Young, I'll call you Will.
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 All right.
I'd
Will.
rather call you Will.
I would rather be called
Okay.
Will too, Ed. And
Will,
Sabrina.
if you look out there to our audience, there are a lot of veterans now are suffering from PTSD, stresses that they have occurred returning home, and they have a little bit anger and a little bit diversity in their homes, getting along with different people because of where they serve, and they have substance abuse where the community do not find that well when they have to go out looking for a job or go out and ask for some kind of resources or anything. How could they know what they can do at this point if they're in a mental state where they cannot pull themselves from under?
Well, how they can get to know what to do if they're in that mental state is, first of all, realize that you need help. That's the key to any type of turnaround in anybody's life. You got to accept the fact that you need help, because if nothing changes, if you don't change. Okay, and the next best thing is to that, start utilizing your resources. You know what I mean? I always believe this: what we were taught in the military stays with us for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean? And we know how to communicate. So you don't want to ask anybody that you're not familiar with, but your buddy, you're supposed to be able to go to him with anything, or her with anything, and get the guidance that you
Yeah.
need. You know, and most of the veteran community basically get a lot of resources from word of mouth.
Yeah, what you say is so true, that what you learn in the military stays with you forever. I'm 72 years old, 50 years since I was in the Marine Corps, and so many of the things that I learned in the Marine Corps are still with me today.
That's right.
Yeah,
It teaches you a very good work ethics.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
So-
And it gives you a sense of pride.
yeah. Tell me exactly what you do now. You're with the United Veterans of Suffolk County?
Yes, it's Suffolk County United Veterans. That is
Okay.
our name, but we are associated with the Association for Mental Health and Wellness. And what happened was we merged in order to be able to provide a better quality of services for our service people. And what I do there now is I'm the director of our veteran service program under that mental health program. And we take veterans that are homeless, that are suffering from homelessness or substance abuse, mental health, or whatever the cases may be, and we bring them in, as you just talked about us earlier. We always go back and get ours. And
Now, it sounds to me that you do a lot like Beacon House does.
yes, the programs are very similar. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of location, and it's like everything else. You know what I mean? It may not be exactly the same, but the whole concept is still basically the same.
Okay.
Well, and you know that Suffolk County has the highest number, the second
Of
largest
veterans.
number of
Number of
veterans in the nation.
I heard it was
So,
the highest.
Second.
Second? Who
Second.
beats it?
California.
I think California. I think it's
Yeah,
California.
out there.
You think it's California.
I
You're
believe-
not sure it's
Well, we
California.
need to find out.
So-
Someone out there knows.
So maybe that we have the highest population.
Yes.
All right.
However, Suffolk County does the most for veterans.
And we
in
got
the
enough.
nation.
And we got enough. We got
Yeah.
enough. We got enough to do.
Okay.
There's a lot of resources, as you know, Ed, and you've been around for a while. There's a lot of resources, and one of the things that I'm happy about as a veteran myself is the way now we are communicating with one another. The VFW with the American Legions, the AMVETS, the Beacon House, the Suffolk County,
Yep, United Veterans.
United Veterans.
Yeah.
You communicate with a lot of different organizations, right?
Yes. I mean, over the last couple of years, we've been pooling together to try to get this resource thing that's really, you know, it's a lot of us out there. And sometimes a lot of people slip through the crack holes because they don't know, if I can't provide this service, who do I send them to? You know what I mean? So that's why the resources are so important. And you're right, we're starting to, how can I say this? We're starting to work better in the sandbox.
Yeah.
In the sandbox.
In the
In the
sandbox.
sandbox.
Okay.
You know that's going to go viral.
I know that. I know that.
What kind of problem do most of the people that go to you have?
Well, the
Are they-
first one is they're homeless.
They're homeless.
They're homeless. Okay.
They're
That's what
not-
we.
They're not members of the American Legion or the VFW.
Well, they could be anybody if they're a veteran. They could be a member of the Legion. If they don't, they could be a other than honorable discharge. We don't, you know, discriminate because of that. If you're a veteran and you raise your hand and you committed to that oath, regardless, because we don't know the circumstances of how you left or why you left. So we're not the judges. We're here to provide a service.
Really?
Yes.
Did you provide services to a veteran that was dishonorably discharged or,
Sure.
or not discharged?
Here's what I do, Ed. I look at it in this concept. Before I became a veteran, I was an American citizen. Okay? So now when I come home, I'm still an American citizen, but I got extra benefits because I'm a veteran.
Right.
Now, if I don't have, God bless me, but others come home with other than honorable discharges, then they can't get the benefits that I now are utilizing. But you take them through their community resources. Because if an individual that's coming home and he's got PTSD or anything that has a mental health problem,
Right.
and it wasn't diagnosed or accepted by the Army, and he comes out and we get him diagnosed by a licensed psychiatrist in the community with this, now we have a means of helping him. You know what I mean? He can get SPAR applications, get into other housing programs for mental health, get into treatment, get his medication. All of these things can be open to him. I just want to say this for my veterans out there that don't have the paper that they would like to have. Okay, don't let that stop you from getting the things that you need to get because you're still an American citizen. So this is what I do, I advocate. So,
Okay. I just want to remind you that there's no phone numbers shown during the show, but at the end of our show, during the credits, there's a phone number for Will. We can't even say your phone number now, but you have to watch the end of the show, watch the credits, and you'll see Will's phone number right on there. Otherwise, if you want to get in touch with Will, you can check on the website. And your website, we can say what that is. What is your email address?
Wilkins Young at Wilkins Young at mhaw.org.
Wilkins Young at mhaw.org.
.org.
That's Wilkins Young at mhaw. Or you can just
Google it.
Google
Association for Mental Health and Wellness.
Association for Mental Health and Wellness.
If you Google,
That's not how I tried you. I
you
just
tried me.
United Veterans of Suffolk County.
Jump right up.
That's it. Google the United Veterans of Suffolk County and you'll get Will.
Okay.
Okay.
Will, I just want to add a little piece to what you just said, which makes a lot of sense. Now, most civilians, they go down, they join the military, and they have to have a physical, right, Ed? We all had physicals. They check us out. I made it through, you made it through, Ed made it through. But these three didn't make it through. They didn't even get a chance to go because they didn't meet the requirements. Maybe it be mental, physical, or some kind of infraction or something. Everyone don't meet the requirements to become a soldier and a military fighter.
Right.
Therefore, when you went through there, and I want to put this out there, if you went through there, you passed through those systems, you got over there and you went to basic, and you got through basic, and some kind of way you didn't make it through AIT, the mental stress started coming in because you didn't have it when you joined. When we joined, we went down there and we had the physical. You had to pass the psychological part of the physical. Therefore, you really need to speak to someone, one of the veteran organizations or one of the churches, anyone, because everyone now has a veteran organization of some sort.
That's right.
You agree, Will?
I certainly do, Sabrina. It's very important for you to utilize your resources out there. Speak, ask from somebody. You can't get help unless you ask for help.
And I just wanted to touch on, when we had the, Ed, we had the people from the court system that was here. All right, and I just want Will to touch on that, but I just want to tell how that went, how that functioned and how that worked with you, Will, with your organization.
Well, right now what we try to do is, I go inside the jail and I do a lot of veteran advocacy inside the jail also. We got a Dwyer program, Joseph P. Dwyer.
Joseph Dwyer, what is that?
Joseph Dwyer is a peer-to-peer program.
Peer-to-peer program?
That we established because there's still a high rate of suicide, but at that particular point in time, we was trying to figure out a means of trying to integrate something that could, help them before they get to that point. And we know a lot of veterans don't like to go to the doctors, and then a lot of times, best treatment is sitting in a room with people that's familiar with where you've been and where you're going and trying to get to. So we interjected the AANA policy, where we just made it a group setting. Everybody come down, put it out on the table, and walk away with what you need to walk to. And then in the process, we're not we're not doctors giving out, things. We're just a bunch of people that have experienced the same thing that our peers have experienced, and we're trying to help them get through this.
So you just tell them to pick up your weapon, let's move out.
That's right. And look, you ain't alone. You felt alone all this time, but let me let you know right now, you're not alone right now. That's for all of y'all. You're not alone, bro.
Yeah. What about the houses that you have?
We have SRO housing.
SRO
Single
housing?
room occupancies.
Okay.
And what we do there is our shelter. We have individuals come through our shelter. We assess them. We have social workers at our shelter. We, try to get them straight, get them in treatment if they got substance abuse issues, get them to doctors, assessments if they got mental health issues, help them with employment if they got some job issues, try to clear up their legals and stuff like that. Once we feel that they've gotten to the point of where they can live independently, then we will put them into our SRO housing, which is our single room occupancy.
Where is your shelter?
Our shelter is located in Yaphank. That's at 32 Mill Road, Yaphank.
And how many beds do you have at the shelter?
We have 23 beds at the shelter.
23 beds?
23 beds we have at the shelter.
What's the occupancy right now?
The occupancy right now is 21.
21. About how long does a veteran stay in the shelter?
We try.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put it out like this. There is no such thing as a minimum, okay? Because we're about making sure that the job gets done as long as you're in the process of getting it done. We like to try to make sure that everybody gets it done in about a year, if we can be more proactive. If you're more
Right.
proactive and we're more proactive, the more we can get done. Now you got to find people that come in that got some substance abuse issue. So you figure they got to go through 6 or 8 months of treatment to just get back on the road. Okay, and now you got to try to get them to learn how to drive on this road now. So that's another time. So that wouldn't be done in a year.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's basically, you know, I'm like this. Long as I see you trying to do something to better yourself, there's no reason for me to stop you.
Yes.
But if you're not doing anything and I can't motivate you, then we have to look at other things.
Okay. Then a veteran moves on to a single room occupancy?
Or, now, that's just in one particular situation, because we also advocate for them for mental health housing, such as spa housing and stuff like that, the HUD Bash housing that we have, senior housing, because a lot of our veterans are 55 and over, so we try to get them to put applications out in the community residence for the senior housing, because our program is about advancement. You know what I mean? It's not about rush advancement, but it is about advancement, because remember, there's somebody coming behind you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and that's what we have to think about. And we want to get them in the best situation possible.
I'm
to
just
be
thinking that
successful.
you know an awful lot about this.
Yes.
You do.
Experienced it and learned,
Yeah.
and a lot of learning.
What
Okay.
is your, I know the viewers want to know this, what is your perspective on the Iraqi veterans coming back now? I'm quite sure quite a few of them have come through your program.
A whole lot. And
Uh-huh.
I have
And
a
what's
lot
some
of
of
them
the
now.
different stresses that you've seen that's compared to like the Vietnams and the Gulf War veterans?
A
Do
lot
you
of
see a difference?
a lot of their, yes, most of them aren't physical wounds. Okay, it's a lot of, how can I say it? A lot of emotional turmoil based on, you know, what their experiences are and everything else. And I always say this too, and I may be wrong, but I believe that,
But that's your opinion.
Right.
So we asking for your opinion.
okay, so my
Your
opinion is like, when Vietnam, and I'm active duty. When you're in active duty, you get up every day and you train specifically for that. Every day you wake up in the morning on active duty, you're trained for war. When you're in National Guards or you're in reserves, you come home for 90 days and you go back for maybe a week or two, then you come back to your job and you go back, and then with National Guard, you go 1 tour, come back, 2 tours, go back. So there's a lot of different things that's going on with the generation of soldiers that are fighting our wars today, as opposed to the soldiers that was fighting it back when you guys was doing it
Right.
in Vietnam and the other eras.
I'd say what happened to me when I had to go back and forth and I had my family
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. When I was active duty for 9 years, my resources were right there with the community, and some stresses weren't important
Mm-hmm.
in our little community. But when I came back to the civilian world, you couldn't use the word grenades and bullets, and I got to go in that foxhole with the snakes or whatever. So that's it. But also, when I got to the reserve status, I'm in there eating MREs for a weekend, and then come back eating Burger King and steaks. So there was so much of a transition, and then you was like, well, why should I do this all the time? And if you don't keep yourself active, like you just stated, going to the gym and stuff like that, you don't meet the requirements, then you drift off. And if you don't go to reserve, it's not like if you don't show up if you're in active duty. You don't show up, you kind of by the rest of your comrades. You know you're supposed to be here, you know.
That's right.
And then we're not going back to school. We're not going back to work. We're staying in the focus.
In the
I'm going to
focus.
say in the focus, and that's why I asked for your opinion, because the viewers and the veterans out there need to know when you came back, Ed. You only didn't come back to a parade coming off the airplane. When I came back, I didn't
No.
have that either. But what I do want to say, Will and Ed, and to the viewers, when I did come back and I stayed here, Suffolk County said to me, there's more that you can do. And Ed reached out to me and said, I want you to come co-host with me. And thank you, Ed.
Yeah.
I want to say that to you. And
okay.
this is what means, as a veteran, keeping busy.
That's right.
With the Suffolk County
United Veterans.
United Veterans. helping veterans.
Right.
And you also said you help them with their finances.
Yes,
too, as
right.
well.
We are not just a shelter. We are a support network. We get it. We have people come in from Cornell to talk about health, eating. We have financial people come in talk about management, how to manage money. We have bankers come in and talk about veteran benefits if they open bank accounts. We have a massage that comes once a month for the guys that needs to get rid of. I go in there and get rid of my stress too, because I got some stress built up too. You know what I mean? But but there's a lot of things that we go to try to get them to understand that there's so much finer things that you can have in life. You know what I mean?
It's called Zen. It's called Zen.
But we try to do our best to motivate them. Motivation is the key. Because I always believe that, and I tell them that if you don't feel good about yourself, you ain't gonna do nothing. You have to feel good about yourself. And I think one of the most important things I have the insight on is because I've been where they've been. I've been in the dogfight. You know what I mean? I've been out there on the streets. I've been addicted to drugs. I've been in the prison. You know what I mean? I've been all the places that, man should go, but sometimes just have to go in order to become a man. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that I made it through that journey.
Yeah.
And now I try to give back to help other people that are going through the journey to make it a little bit easier for them, because somebody was there to make this journey a little easier for me.
So you're taking the time out to help others.
Oh, yes.
All right. Are there people coming back to you and volunteering in your place?
Always.
Really?
Always.
Yes.
Always. I can pick up the phone and call somebody that's been in the program, and I said, listen, bro, I know you got this capability. What you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I need a little help. Not a problem. Yo, Chief, I'll be right there. That's one of them. They always call me Chief.
You have volunteers. You just call on people.
Yes. The community, too. Community does a lot for us. We have a very good relationship with our community. As a matter of fact, we're working together now with some events that we're working on to rebuild, to do some restoration work with the shelter. We're going to do an extension to bring up the upstairs where the offices are, so we can have all our offices together, because now we got offices down here in one program, like I was saying. So if we can get this done, we can have all our offices upstairs in one unit. So like you said, all the resources will be right there. And it saves us financial because we're renting other places. Then downstairs, we're going to bring everything out so we can have make a bigger area for trainings, you know what I mean, and kitchen, and we're gonna do some landscaping, and it's gonna be totally nice. So we've been doing, we had a Kickstands Up as one of our events. We have the chili cook-up.
Kickstands Up?
Kickstands Up.
What is that, bicycles?
No, they're motorcycles.
Oh, really?
Yes, we have a
Nice.
motorcycle people that comes out, and we do a poker run. And beautiful. We've been doing it for years. It's
Really?
been beautiful, yes. And then we have a chili cook-off where everybody chips in, and everybody organization do their chili, and then they represent and everything. We have that in October. And we have a lot of things that goes on at the Vets Place, car shows, people come out. It's massive support
Very
for
good.
us out there.
Very good. I want to remind you to watch the credits at the end of the show, because you catch Willie's phone number right on there, and you can also find him online on what is the online thing? United Veterans of Suffolk County.
There you go.
You can catch him online on that website. How about it, Dean? Donald, can you come up here? Get on the view. Pat, you want to come up here? Anybody in the back room? You want to come up? Come on out.
Man.
Loretta, hurry up.
While
You're
we
going to run
waiting,
out.
I want to take the time to say happy holidays to all those
Come on.
veterans.
Get in back.
And Will, thank you for coming home, serving our nation.
Oh, come on in.
And thank you
Come
for
on right in.
continuing to serve our community.
Thank you,
And
Sabrina.
Suffolk County is what we have to do to take care of our veterans, and you're a testimony of that.
Hurry
for
up,
what you do.
Loretta. Come on.
So,
Come on,
thank
come on.
you.
We don't want
Come
you
on,
mess.
I want you to see the crew that's okay. That's almost all our
Yes.
crew.
And
Thank you.
Beverly and
Merry
Christmas,
holidays.
everybody.
Blaine,
Happy
you're in the back.
holidays. Happy holidays.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Huh?
Honeymooners. Remember the honeymooners? They're on television.
Oh, that's my New Year's marathon, bro.
I'm with you. Right there.
That's my New Year's marathon.
Ship for the future.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah. I just always, it's a good idea. I was
go back here.
Very good.
Oh, you're not.
Yes, we got a problem.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I did not check the recorder.
I did.
It's stuck on a minute and 20 seconds.
Into the show.